Choosing an assisted living or memory care facility for yourself or someone you love can be stressful, to say the least. After doing it for both my grandmothers and my mom, I'm going to share with you some of the things that I wish I would have known before we started down that road. So, first of all, you need to understand the tour. So, the tour in a lot of places, I'm not saying all of them, is they prep for it. So, everything is spotless and they rally all the residents to come out. So, it looks like a hub of activity. And again, not saying they all do that, but in my experience, that's kind of what happens. So, one of the things you can do is, and I strongly suggest this for a lot of reasons, is go back to the facility unannounced. Just go back. Go back some at a different time frame, maybe in the morning or the afternoon or the evening, not too late in the evening, but go back and definitely go back on a weekend sometime. And you may see an absolutely different facility than you saw during the tour, but it's worth it to go back, especially for me, especially on the weekend. Their staffing is horrible on the weekend, and I wish I would have known that. And I wish I would have known that it was a production. So that's number one, is just go back, because there is nothing worse than finding out you made a mistake within a month or two. My one grandma, we moved her within 3 months, and she was miserable there. And it was the reality of it was completely different than the tour. So that's something to keep in mind. Also, you need to be hyper vigilant while you're there during the tour and while you're there visiting. Pay attention. Pay attention to everything. Pay attention to the staff. Pay attention to the residents. Do they seem happy? Do they seem miserable? Is the staff engaged with the residents? There's all these little things that give you a really good idea of what it's actually like there and what kind of staffing they have. And staffing does change, but management kind of dictates what that's like. So it's important to do that. And then going on to management, ask questions about how long the director has been there or the manager, and what kind of turnover they have for that position. When we moved my mom in, they had an amazing director. She was wonderful. She was gone 3 months, and the next year they had 3 different directors. And I'll just be blunt here, they were all horrible. They were all lame. And the staffing, because of the bad management, the staffing turnover just was like this, and they were understaffed all the time, and the care went down. It was really a nightmare. And so that's kind of a big thing. The other one is, when you're wandering around, pay attention to the little details, like smell. Does it smell? For me, this is just gross. Does it smell musty and damp and moldy and nasty? Pay attention to the smells and pay attention to all the little details around you. Also, just ask to see the kitchens. It may or may not be part of the tour. It was for us. So it was something that we got to see. But if they don't show you the kitchen, ask to see it. And you know what? You don't have to worry about them liking you or any of that stuff. You have to worry about the person you're going to move in there, or if you're moving in there yourself. You have to worry about yourself, not about upsetting them because you want to see the kitchen. But I think you can tell a lot from a kitchen, like really a lot. So there's that. And then there's the money part of it, is what are the extras that I'm going to pay for? Like, my mom needs medication. And if you saw my other video, you'll know I'm not a fan of the automatic medication dispensers. And so that actually cost extra to have them administer her medications. And then they add in a lot of really kind of odd things. And and then if you're ask about rental increases. So like, how often are the rental increases? What is the average percent of a rental increase? The things like that are actually really important, and they don't go over those in the tour. So you need to actually ask. And I think it's a pretty important thing because, well, if you're watching this, you know that care is not cheap. So knowing what that is important. So with my grandmother, we had to move her shortly thereafter. And part of it was, if you have someone who is active, wants to do things, my grandmother she was super social and loved crafts, and they had the place that we moved her to was more like an apartment complex, not a facility where there's a lot of togetherness, I guess, and not a lot of activities. And my grandmother needed that. It was really, really important for her happiness. So, you take into account the personality of the person for that fit. And when we moved her to the next place, she thrived. It was active. And I got to tell you, the one place was kind of like me, and going to the other place where we eventually moved her to, it was actually cheaper. That's why you got to look around. But when you walked in the front door, I'm not kidding you, it was like you walked into a cruise ship. Big chandeliers, big staircases, a hub of activity, and it was real. And my grandmother really thrived there, and she lived there for quite some time. So do your due diligence so that you can make a good decision, because I will tell you right now that having to find a facility again after you've already done the moving and tried to get them to adjust, having to go through the whole process again is not fun. So actually, after moving my mom to assisted care, there's going to be some links below of some of the stuff I got for her, and she does get affiliate money for that. If you click on one of those, she gets, I don't know, 50 cents or whatever. But it helps, well, she's at a point now where bibs, so it helps buy more bibs and Depends and all that stuff that actually can add up. So click on one of the links. There are things that I bought for my mom, and I have another video about that you can look at. Thank you so much.